So Bubba's 230. Move to Luke to 215. And we'll be good to go. Oh, Chip texted.
Patterson?
Yeah. We're supposed to catch up for lunch, but you know how it is. Oh, I should turn my email off, shouldn't I?
You enjoy that?
Yes. I do. I hate doing that. Anyway, we're supposed to catch up for lunch. We're supposed to go downtown. We have to hammer that out. But anyway, he said number 2, I love, all caps, love the cold opens.
Give the people what they want, Joe.
Can't fake it though. Cannot fake it. Since we're doing this live.
Yeah.
And we're doing it again live on
Thursday.
Are you going to be drinking?
Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's 2:00. We'll be at the Raleigh Times. I mean,
are you going to be slumped over like the Breeze Through extravaganza?
Slumped over?
Dude, go back and watch.
Harsh.
Go back. And at one point, you're just, you had hoodie up. You were like this. And you had the mic because you got fed up with the mic stand. And you're like, go back and watch.
Wow. All right. Are we airing grievances? Or is it Festivus?
It's well, no, Festivus. Well, no, that's not till Luke comes on.
Okay.
That'll be a Festivus.
You let me know, because that chartable thing that you signed up for.
I know.
Looks like you're effing with my money, sir.
We got a 3-star. Well, here's the thing. Got a 3-star review.
Yeah. With a very specific reason.
Okay. I'm looking at it right now. Incredibly knowledgeable about triangle sports and really enjoyed the discourse. Only negative comment is obvious. However, only negative comment is obvious inserting topics into the agenda that he can underhandedly insert his political tastes into.
Ooh.
Parentheses, no one around here cares about what Aaron Rodgers is doing with 3 exclamation points. Do not find me. You had me read the review. You're not finding me. That's fine. I didn't bring it up yesterday. I could have easily.
Did you go one whole episode without it?
I went one whole episode without it.
All right. Look at you.
So I don't want to hear it.
Okay.
I'm not going to do it again today.
It's too late.
Well, no, you see, we got a 3-star review. It's fine.
It's too late.
It's a 5-star review, though. It's a 3-star, but that was a 5-star.
All things I've ever asked for a boss of mine were encapsulated right there. Hey, you have a problem with me? Cool. But I at least point out the things I do well. Right?
Yes.
Like, that was awesome.
I totally agree with you on that. Is that our annual review?
We did it. Hey, love the show. It's awesome. Stop freaking talking about Aaron Rodgers. Stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to.
Okay.
And I'm not drinking. I do have the Breeze Through. It's just water. I'm hydrating today.
Anyway, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go. Let's podcast alongside Joe Chilio. I'm Joe Ovias, inside Eford Studios, downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties. And thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management. Something that, Joe, like you like to say, you don't know what you don't know. I don't know squat about print management. All I know is that I turn on, I have my phone. It's tied to a Kyocera printer. I need something printed out, like a Duke basketball parking pass. Cool. It happens. I don't know how that thing works, but they do. So head on over to copiers-plus.com. What are you smirking about?
I forgot we were live today.
Yeah.
The bonus of the live are the comments. You might have to turn them off so I don't get distracted.
Yeah, you do get easily distracted by the comments.
Squirrel.
Like, what? Oh, Timmy Ann just said. I'll go ahead and I'll put it on the screen right now. I've done a good job.
You know how to do that. I don't.
Aaron Rodgers lately. Just skip it. Okay, fine.
But I don't want to give anybody that no skipping. Not allowed.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Let's not program anybody for that.
Yeah. You don't want to program people to skip around. But anyway, a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by Luke DeCock at the News and Observer, like he typically joins us on a Tuesday. And UNC AD Bubba Cunningham will also join us today. That's going to be at 2:30 as we're doing this live. Last night, I watched a little Monday Night Football because there's been some drama around the Eagles. Yeah, remember, I'm the person for the last couple of weeks who've said, we're going to get an Eagles-Chiefs rematch. We're going to get an Eagles-Chiefs rematch. Like, I'm not going to fault the Eagles because they've been winning close games. They're winning, yada, yada, yada. Jalen Hurts was sick. Got to power through that. Fine. But the real red flag for me is when you're so desperate to find a defensive edge that you've elevated Matt Patricia to be the defensive play caller. He's not the defensive coordinator. They still have a defensive coordinator. He's the defensive coordinator in title, but we got Matt Patricia and his little pencil in his ear with his beard. I'm so schlubby because I don't have time for anything else in my life. It's all football all the time. Sure, whatever. He's been elevated to the play caller. That's my red flag. I'm like, ooh, there's a little palace intrigue there. They're not happy about this. So I might have to back off. My Eagles will be fine. More to the point with the Eagles, they're really terrible at the stat you love to bring up all the time, point differential. When you look at the other 10-4 teams in the NFL right now that you would consider Super Bowl contenders, and the Eagles have been viewed as one. Well, so have the Dolphins. Dolphins have a 10-4 record. The point differential is insane. Do you know what the point differential is for the Eagles right now?
Without looking it up?
Without looking it up.
No, I do not.
18. Plus 18.
I'm sorry?
Plus 18. They are on...
They're 10-4 and they're plus 18?
They're on that Minnesota Vikings level. Although the Vikings were a negative, were they not?
At one point, yes.
With a winning record last year?
It's impossible.
I still... I'm still at a loss as that happened.
It's wild.
Regardless, the Eagles are not looking like an actual Super Bowl contender. Neil Greenberg over at the Washington Post did the comparable for the Eagles versus everybody else. The Dolphins are right now plus 147. The Cowboys, who just got shellacked by the Buffalo Bills, which we'll get to in a second, also 10-4. They are at plus 167. The Lions, everybody's favorite, Matt Patricia's old team, where they couldn't wait to get rid of him. They're plus 51, right? So those are your similar grouping teams. And that, as you like to say, is a better indicator of how good a team might actually be.
Yeah, particularly in the NFL when things are a little bit more equal. I got 2 points on the Eagles, though. First of all, they lost the Super Bowl last year. There is no more powerful force in the universe than a team that has lost the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Second of all, they just lost 2 games, and I get it. One was to San Fran, arrested, coming in, angry San Fran. Mm-hmm. You lose the game 42-19, fine. You go to Dallas. Dallas at home is loaded up for you, fine. However, whoever you play in that next game, you better be ready for the football game. Last night, they scored on their opening drive. After that, they went to sleep against the Seattle team that, quite frankly, isn't any good. Mm-hmm. So that's a football game you have to win, even if you have to play Marcus Mariota, which maybe they probably should have. I don't know. I thought Hurts was fine. You know, first play of the game was a design quarterback run. The Eagles were obviously feeling a little bit cheeky with their play calling.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of game you have to win. So you go there and you lose 20-17. I told you, man. I told you. There's 2 teams that can come out of there, Dallas and San Fran, and that's it. Detroit is a fraud. The Eagles are a year too late.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves you with 2 options.
Of those 2 options, give me the San Francisco 49ers. I would still take...
Can they stay healthy?
That's the key part, number 1. Number 2, I would still elevate another team over the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are very predictable. You called it a scheduled loss over the weekend with the way they got beat by Buffalo.
Yeah.
This happens all the time. They're undefeated at home. They go on the road. It's cold. They don't know what to do. And they just short circuit. And that's exactly what happened when they were up in Buffalo. So I would still take a wild card, like not an actual wild card, but what's against the field? What do you do in golf when it's like Tiger versus the field? Well, like, is it the Dallas Cowboys or everybody else? I would still take everybody else for a variety of reasons.
You're running out of options in the NFC.
I agree with you that you are running out of options in the NFC. I'm simply saying that I would still take my chances with one of those other suspect options, like the Detroit Lions, than I would ever put my trust in the Dallas Cowboys. And if you're a Dallas Cowboy, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because it's that cycle of suffering when it comes to being a Dallas Cowboys fan, and people cannot wait to make fun of you. Somewhere Stephen A has his cowboy hat ready to go, look into his phone and laugh at you.
All right,
when it eventually happens.
I sent you the slide, man. You gotta use it.
What?
The cowboy thing. I know you have my number blocked on your phone or something.
What are you talking about?
The Cowboys cycle.
Oh, I don't have it in front of me.
I know.
I don't have it in front of me right now.
I don't have. Then you don't let me add things onto the.
I let you add things.
No. You were very clear. No. That's my. I'll get you your own folder. You don't get to put anything in there.
No, I never said you couldn't put anything in there. I'm saying that there are things for Law of the Wolf and the other stuff that you can put in your folder.
Sure.
And you don't have to muck up
then you
the
even
main
said,
channel.
You got 2 other podcasts. You could do all that stuff.
Right.
You don't need to do that over here.
You can.
Didn't feel very welcoming.
Okay. It was just more.
I'll add the cowboy
look,
logo.
all I'm saying is, I know what your desktop looks like.
Yeah.
And I know what my
desktop.
Both
the computer
physically.
I was like, oh yeah.
Like the actual physical desktop in here and your computer desktop versus mine. I don't want that mess in my life.
I don't want your life.
I don't want that mess in your life, man. So yesterday we put the call out for those who had gone to the Carolina Panthers game in the rain, 5,200. I'm going to go based off that Vashti Hurt tweet that she said she talked to somebody in the stadium and that their reported number, what they calculated was 5,200 people showed up to that. I was shocked how many of our listeners actually went.
You're like 1,418 of them emailed us.
Now, I'm not surprised in the least that our friend Jake Failing, who used to work here locally with Team USA Baseball, now he's this influencer. He does game day stuff for the Carolina Panthers. Our friend Penn Holderness was hanging out with them, and there they are in the rain, having a good time. I'm just impressed that they're not in a suite. I thought I'm actually surprised that Penn Holderness did not big time everybody. Like, I cannot get wet out here. This is too cold for me. I need to put my handsome Ken looks in a suite somewhere.
He does have a Muhsin Muhammad jersey on. That's
old school.
It's impressive.
That is old school. So I originally thought we'd get maybe one person to reach out.
Yeah.
We usually get like 10 or so people that reached out talking about how they had gone to the game. So I was impressed by that. So I went to them opening up the Gmail here. This is from Blade. We were there, Christmas present for our kids, did not care. And here they are, in the rain, having a good time. You got the bags on, you get the garbage bags on. That's just the way to go. There was another email from I got so many emails from people. This is from Lathan. You got to be there for the 1 and 12s if you're going to be there for the 15 and 1s. Love the show. Keep what you're doing. Lathan, there he is in front of the Panther outside. Super hype. Looks very, very soggy. Not a game that I would have wanted to go to, but hey, man, you do your thing.
Good stuff.
Speaking of a suite, this is from Kevin. Being in a suite counts, right? But no, not a chance. I'm sitting in the soggy stands for that garbage offense. Fair enough. And then we had another one from Thomas. He was there, said it was great, told him, hey, man, just shoot me your address and I'll send you a hoodie for the people who actually reached out. And then we also had from Andrew. Now, Andrew had a lot to write about.
Oh,
and he said he was one of the 5,200 there. I'm a listener of the podcast and the Young Gun podcast. Shout out to the Young Gun pod with Dimitri and Lauren. I was one of the sorry Panther faithful at the Falcons game yesterday. I wasn't going to subject myself to this team in person this season, but my brother, who is in the Army and stationed in Fairbanks, is home on leave and successfully lobbied a few weeks ago to go to this game. I told him Thursday he needed to bring a canoe if we were actually going to go. He responded with a screenshot of the current weather in Fairbanks, 30 below, with the comment, I'll take that over this. We went. It was absolutely miserable. The emptiest I'd ever seen that stadium. And probably half of the 5,200 were in Falcons gear. When I went a few years ago, that Kyle Allen, Christian McCaffrey game that I've referenced a lot, I was shocked at how many Falcons fans were actually at that game because there was 2 bad teams at that time. There were 2 bad teams. So anyway, I guess they travel well. But the elation that we felt when Pinheiro, team MVP, walked it off was as if we had won the Super Bowl in a season of which I'd like to remember very little. It was an unforgettable game at the bank. Attached as a blurry selfie because my phone was in a plastic bag in a video my brother took at the end of the game. I'm really enjoying listening to you guys. Born and bred North Carolinian. Y'all are just what I need for my sports fill. Admittedly, I'm late to the party. Never listened to you on terrestrial radio, but love the content now on YouTube and Spotify. Thanks for making the experience as a Carolina sports fan a little bit more livable. So then here's the blurry selfie because everything was in the plastic bag. Told him that absolutely we will send you a hoodie, man.
Also, could you get in touch with Jamie at Breaking Tea? I would like a "We're Huge in Alaska" shirt / hoodie option. This is just further proof we're huge in Alaska.
I feel like
an outline of Alaska and an OG. We're huge in Alaska.
I think that's something you and I can do on Custom Ink.
I mean,
we'll figure it out.
Don't limit our options, sir.
All right. That's fine. Maybe put it on a sticker.
We don't know what we don't know.
It's a very good point. Maybe we'll put it on a sticker too. So big thanks to everybody who reached out, who had gone to that Panthers game. There's a larger conversation to be had about going to sporting events in this kind of weather.
Well, they made it a family event because remember, we started this football season by you chastising people for being amped up for week 0.
That's right.
And not, refusing to go to weddings.
I hate my family so much that I need to watch.
That I'll go get walking pneumonia. Bank of America.
Well, I've been after my father-in-law for the longest time to, because he's a University of Delaware grad. I'm like, all right, man, let me go up. Like, I want to see cold, quote unquote, cold football. Like, I would absolutely go to a game in Buffalo in snowy conditions. I think that would be fun. I would absolutely go to Green Bay. I wouldn't go shirtless, but there are some people, and you look like somebody who's now making a face at me, who's adamant about never going to a sporting event in that kind of weather, which is weird because didn't you suffer through Generals games?
Those spring football though.
Okay. It's still cold in the spring in New York, dude.
No, not like that.
All right. Every time we talk about the Carolina Panthers, it's brought to you by Graffiti. Check them out in downtown Cary. Speaking of family time, you know what's family bonding?
Axe throwing.
Didn't like what they had to say at the dinner table? Don't take it out on them. Just focus on the axe at the cork board. That's the most important part. So head on over to Graffiti in downtown Cary. They bring you our conversations about the Carolina Panthers.
Housekeeping.
So we've got a Tecmo Super Bowl tournament that we're going to be doing at Shady's on February 4th. We have 2 people who have reached out so far for the field of 32.
Yes.
We haven't really started promoting it yet.
Lock in those spots.
We haven't really started promoting it yet. We've just kind of been mentioning it. When we get into the new year, we're going to hammer getting in on this tournament. Again, there's only 32 spots. 2 people have already reached out for that. If you are interested in joining us for our Tecmo Bowl tournament with cash prizes,
there is an entry fee, $25 American.
Email us, theoggoesdigital@gmail.com. You mentioned the t-shirts, breakingtea.com/OG. You can get all of your Breaking Tea OG merch there. Again, that's breakingtea.com/OG. This is part of a conversation we're going to have tomorrow. We went over to the governor's mansion today. Roy Cooper was in the office, invited us over, doing some end-of-year media rounds. They reached out to us. We're like, cool. Brought the equipment over. And Joe, you brought him a customized OG116 flag hoodie with a custom C on it. Captain OG himself.
After giving him the Homer Simpson starter kit last March, I felt like I should get him a real gift, one that was sincere. And one of the things that he has taught us is it's okay that you and I went to state. He went to Carolina, but it's okay. You can include everybody. We got the Wolfpack red in that flag. We got the Tar Heel blue. We got the Duke blue.
He was very happy about that.
And if we think about it, we probably did it unintentionally. There's some gold Wake Forest in that lettering too.
Shh. That was by design. Anyway, big thanks to the governor's office for letting us hang out today. We'll bring you that full conversation tomorrow. Big thanks to Breeze Through. Speaking of being cold and doing things outside, we did a show outside of Breeze Through this year. I'm still thawing from it.
I really wasn't that cold.
It was cold, dude. What are you talking about? Head over to Breeze Through, PNC Arena. That's the location that we spent a lot of time at, but they got one in Cary. They got one out by Chapel Hill. They got them all over.
They don't just
Carolina.
have one in Cary.
The Taj Breeze Through off a High House. That's the move. And our tournament over at Shady's for Tecmo Bowl is going to be brought to you by Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online at wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. And our friends over at Hometown Realty. Buy, sell. They got the mortgage calculator on the website. Makes it super, super easy. And most importantly, when it comes to new construction, they are locked in when it comes to that.
The best way to get those bonuses from the builders is to go through Hometown Realty. It's myhtr.com. Buy, sell, calculate.
Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, columnist for the News and Observer, he is Luke DeCock. Luke, what up, man?
What's up, fellas? I talking about football games in bad weather. I actually attended the Packers-Buccaneers game on Sunday, which was balmy by Green Bay and December standards. It was just 30 degrees, 20-mile-an-hour winds and sleet, but still better than Charlotte. I did enjoy watching Baker Mayfield absolutely torch the Packers. According to Pro Football Focus, it's the worst pass defense performance by any team in the last 5 years. I felt right at home there. with all the bad football I've had to watch over the last couple of years. So I'm looking forward to see Bryce Young look like Lamar Jackson next week in Charlotte, because the Packers can't catch a cold at this point.
Well, you got to remember that I think the Panthers are going through what the Carolina Hurricanes had gone through, the very, very terrible, no good decade, where they had these guys that people would fall in love with, and then they kind of reached a ceiling here. Then they go somewhere else and like, wait a minute, where was that? He scored tonight. Why didn't that happen? I feel
Are you saying that Baker Mayfield is the Victor Rask of the NFL?
I mean, I wouldn't go so far to say that, but it's not lost on me that Christian McCaffrey might be the damn MVP.
Yeah. This will segue into what we're going to talk about. But first of all, congratulations to Luke. He won our ACC Fantasy Football League.
Oh,
for the first time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
in large part to a trade with Joe, but still,
no. You earned that one.
The trophy is actually, by the way.
Oh no, the trophy is outstanding.
Trophy. Our trophy is of a cat in honor of Patrick Stevens' cats.
Yes.
I purchased it. I'm the guy who wins the league for the first time in 15 years and purchases a traveling trophy. It'll be at ACC kickoff. I expect to see it on the podcast there.
Who was the goalie in the bubble who went berserk for Dallas, the former Kane?
I don't even remember. Anton
Khudobin. Yes, that's the guy. Whatever his name was. Yeah. That was the guy. That's it, because a guy leaves the Canes and all of a sudden you're like,
it's not like Noah Hannafin or Elias Lindholm, who you knew could be good players potentially, and Lindholm certainly has been a great player. More like Baker Mayfield could not have looked more washed with the Panthers, but he looked like Tom Brady. I mean, it looked like the old Buccaneers out there, throwing to Mike Evans, throwing to Chris Godwin. It was very, they had a great big white tight end score a touchdown. Looked like Mike Allstott stumbling over the goal line. It was very vintage Buccaneers.
Amazing.
It's literally amazing.
When we went over to the governor's mansion, Roy Cooper was wearing his Roy Cooper 75 Hurricanes jersey. And I'm convinced that we were invited over there because he needed the equivalent of Canes therapy. Canes went through a pretty rough road trip. Getting questioned by the captain, getting questioned by Rod Brindamore. And then they come home. You're thinking maybe things turn around a little bit, but then Antti Ranta gets waived. I guess there might be something cooking. I don't know. Where are we right now with the Carolina Hurricanes goalie situation with Freddie Anderson? My best guess, maybe a month at best away from showing back up with the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're the same place we were 2 weeks ago. It hasn't changed. When they get good goaltending, they look great. When they give up a soft goal, everything starts to collapse. Everything gets poisoned from the net out. And that hasn't changed. It's just that in Ottawa and Detroit, Pyotr Kochetkov looked good, made some saves, made some big saves, took out Brady Tkachuk like a linebacker. It was good stuff. And it was him playing with the fire he needs to have. He was playing big. If you watch him closely when he's playing well, every save he makes, he's moving into the puck. And if you go back and watch him in Western Canada, everything was reactive. And then Antti Ranta, you love the guy. He's one of the nicest players ever to play for this franchise. He's been a huge part of that dressing room. But there are times where guys just cannot stop the puck. And he's just sort of reached that point. Doesn't mean it's permanent, but it got to the point where they had to make a move. I don't know whether Aaron Dell, who was in on the tryout, is the answer. Obviously, Yaro Halak was not. I still think they have the cap space and assets to make a deal when they are ready to make a deal. Obviously, they are not ready yet. That may not be how I feel about it, where to me, the alarm bells are going off and red lights are flashing and all that kind of stuff. But it's not my draft picks and prospects and what I have to give up to make the deal. So,
and that's what
it's goaltending.
It's still goaltending.
Yeah.
So
it's just goaltending.
The question I'm having is, what is it going to take to get the kind of goalie they feel is going to do the job?
Well, that's a question. Do you get a guy, who you have cap issues with, like John Gibson in Anaheim? You go get a veteran guy like Marc-Andre Fleury, whose numbers aren't much better than the Hurricanes goalies now and doesn't really want to leave Minnesota. The options right now aren't great. And I think that's a big part of the reason why nothing's happened. Montreal is the one team that's getting good goaltending, that has guys they can move. But, if I'm the Hurricanes front office, do I look at my team and say, we're a Stanley Cup contender? Is, Jake Allen worth giving up assets for? Is that the guy who's going to help us? Or are we better off just sort of papering over the cracks until Freddie gets back and hope that he can do what he did last year and sort of emerge from the curtains at the last second and, hose down the fire and save everything. I think Freddie's going to be fine. I think the time off is actually going to help him.
Mhm.
Biggest issues, obviously, over the course of his career has been durability. Now he's sort of taken the Ray Whitney training camp plan of getting hurt before the first preseason game and miraculously recovering the morning of the last one, so he gets a good 20 minutes in. I think it's gonna be fine. The fact that they've cleared Freddie to skate is a huge positive sign, because as we've talked about, as the three of us have talked about ad nauseum, you can't mess this up with his blood disorder.
No.
If you go too far to one side, he basically hemophiliac who can die from a skate cut. You go too far to the other side, you could get a clot on a plane because you fly so much. You got to get it right. From everything, every indication now is they feel like they've got that dialed in. Now it's just a question of regaining fitness, regaining sharpness. And honestly, I don't know that there's a massive hurry for that if they can keep getting the goaltending that they've been getting from Kochetkov. I don't know that Yaniv Peretz is the answer to any question, but I think they feel like they're going to be better off with him playing once a week than Ron's playing once a week. He was in a rut, couldn't get out of it. You haven't really seen a lot of that from him over the course of his career. Maybe the fact that he accepted this conditioning assignment means he thinks he can still play and he can get his game back, go down, have a couple of good starts in the AHL and come back. But, I think I think Kochetkov has righted the ship. I think we saw that those last couple of games of the road trip. If they feel that way about him, and I can understand that argument, you're okay kind of going with him until Freddie gets back. The key is still Freddie. And if something happens with Freddie, then you absolutely have to make a move.
Mhm.
The goalie they're going to get eventually, I'm 99% certain, is not someone we've mentioned here.
Okay.
There's a different deal to be made, maybe even a player-for-player deal that sets up their goaltending. And maybe they're waiting for teams to fall out of contention. Sometimes the best goalie is going to be the guy you get from the team that punts. And you're not going to get those guys. Everybody still thinks they can make the playoffs at Christmas.
Is there something in the top six forwards, Luke, that's going to make sense for them? Last year we get to the deadline and it's, we got to go get this guy from San Jose, got to go get this guy from Vancouver. Is there something out on the horizon where I know they've been reluctant in the past because they felt like they made their moves in the offseason? I'm just looking at the way that their top six is playing and I'm not sure this is the group you guys thought was going to bring this thing home for you.
Yeah, I think you look at Michael Bunting, and that hasn't quite worked out. This is a guy who scored a ton in Toronto with great players, just hasn't clicked here yet. And you're one injury away, whether it's Jordan Martinook or whoever, from everything kind of tumbling. That said, I like the way they've looked going 11-7 because it solves the Tony DeAngelo problem. You get Jalen Chatfield and Tony DeAngelo in the lineup, and that's easy to do with Andrei Svechnikov out. But if you're going to go 11-7, and I know that Rob Brindamore hates it, if you're going to do that, there's less emphasis on showing up at forward because now you're just basically trying to put three lines together, and you can run the hot guys if you're playing three lines together because you're going to have the stall line, and then you're just going to have 8 other guys that you're mixing and matching, and your top player is going to get more ice time. You can go with who's hot, but they need to get more other top guys. Obviously, Aho had a great game on the road trip. That was good to see. Teravainen had a great start, kind of carry the team, but they need more from everybody, and they need Andrei Svechnikov to come back and be the player he's shown he can be. I don't think you can actually say over the course of a full season, we've seen the Andrei Svechnikov he was supposed to be, and he's shown signs of being. They need him to come back and be that guy because, quite frankly, this franchise isn't built for him to keep developing. They need a finished product. They are in a position, he's a 2018 draft pick. He's played a ton of games in the league. Now is the time for Andrei Svechnikov to be a contributor and not just sort of the token all-star, but like somebody you can't leave off that list because he was drafted to be that. He's certainly capable of being that. Injuries have gotten in the way lately, obviously, but they need him to come back from this latest ailment, this really injury, not ailment, and be an impact player. That will solve a lot of problems if you can get him back to the level that he's shown he can play.
Luke DeCock, columnist, News and Observer. We'll get out of here on this because Joe and I spent a good chunk of time talking about this on yesterday's show. I guess we don't really have to worry about deep March plans for Triangle Hoops at this point. Nobody looks the part right now. I'm not saying that you can't have some fun this season. Don't get me wrong, but it's gotten late early for NC State. I think Carolina still is a work in progress with their new pieces. And I don't know what to make of Duke.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah, I would have to look it up because it happens so infrequently. The last time we went 2 years in a row without a team making it to the second weekend. certainly think there's a risk of that. I still think Carolina, when I look at those pieces, I look at the way they played against Tennessee, I look what they did against Florida State, their losses are to really good teams. And I think there's enough of a ceiling there, and they're going to have enough experience. This Oklahoma game is a big one because Oklahoma's not quite at that UConn level. They're more in that sort of Kentucky range. This is a big game because they've got to prove they can beat these teams in neutral sites, right? They beat Tennessee at home there was a great crowd for that game.
Yes.
They got to go and down to Charlotte, which is going to be kind of like a home crowd, obviously, and beat Oklahoma. Duke, Tyrese Proctor obviously didn't look great before the injury. Something's not right there. Kyle Filipowski looks like a guy who really needs like an impact 5 to play off of. And they've done some nice things trying to get Filipowski looks, and he's obviously played well. But there's just something that's not quite there with that team. I think the best answer for Duke is a couple of the freshmen just getting hot from long range. They can shoot that team deep into March. And I think the same thing's true at Carolina, where, that's a better 3-point shooting team. Obviously, if they hit some shots in the second half against UConn, it's a completely different narrative with this team. So I still think Duke has a chance to go deep. I think Carolina still has a pretty good chance to go deep. I think that's a talented team that's going to have something to prove. So I think there's a chance, but not looking great right now.
It's look, man, it's November, December basketball. These teams come together and we have to do a better assessment. We have to do a better job saying, hey, look, we don't know what this group is going to be until late January, even maybe February, but we'll have that conversation then. Luke DeCock, columnist, News and Observer. All right, man. Appreciate you making some scheduling changes today. We will talk to you later.
Moving on with pieces. All right, see you guys.
It's the beauty of live stuff, man.
We'll do it live.
We will do it live because we had to go to the governor's mansion. Christmas, man. It's soon. Soon. Get something for yourself.
6 days.
Go to homefieldapparel.com right now. You've gotten something for everybody else. Treat yourself. So when everything is over and all the gifts are unpacked and everything else, you got something else coming your way from Homefield. So again, check them out online. Great Carolina stuff. Homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG23. And when we're talking about Christmas, we're talking about New Year's, we're talking about making things easier on yourself. That's where the butcher's market comes into play. You got great appetizers, prepared meals, right? All that stuff. Make it easy. Go to
Side
Butcher's
dishes.
Market.
Yeah, good stuff.
New location, Lake Boone Shopping Plaza. And of course, our friend Matt Davis over at State Farm. Check him out online at insuregarner.com, theoginsurance.com, and call him directly if you want to. You can, because he's here in Garner, 919-779-8277.
Just got a nice text from Matt that said some of the listeners have been chiming in, getting their help because they want to save money. Easy thing to do. Give them a call, 919-779-8277.
Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is the athletics director at North Carolina. Bubba Cunningham is hanging out with us. Bubba, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good. And first off, condolences to you, the Carolina family, with the passing of Eric Montross, as we found out this week. Family gets used a lot. It makes a lot of sense at Carolina, and I can't think of a better ambassador for UNC, both in terms of being a player and what he's done with the university, and obviously what he was doing on the broadcast side before.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, yesterday was really a tough day for a lot of people on campus, particularly in the Rams club. Eric was obviously 7 feet tall, but that image, he cast a long shadow, not just literally, but figuratively. And he had a huge impact on an awful lot of people in such a positive way. And, I think, all of us, because of the great advances in cancer research, people go through chemo and they get some radiation, and you always feel like they're going to come back. And I think we all anticipated at some point Eric would be back, even though he would battle through it. And just the thought that he's not coming back, it just really hit everybody really hard yesterday. And I appreciate you acknowledging that. But, again, all the great things that he did is the legacy that lives on. Mm-hmm. And all the great work he did for the Rams club, what he did for the hospital, what he did for individual people. Those are all obviously the things you try to continue to think about and dwell upon. But it's a big loss for the university and the community. So, again, I appreciate your thoughts.
When I reached out to you, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of these bigger picture ideas that have been going on, and we haven't talked really since October or the summer. We haven't talked since August.
Yeah, it was in the car. We had that
You-
J.J. Abrams lens flare thing going on.
So obviously, let's go back a half a step to the ACC adding Stanford, Cal, and SMU, and notably you at North Carolina came out and kind of shared some of your thoughts, and Kevin Guskowitz did, and we can talk a little bit about that too. But I'm kind of curious, what were some of your conversations like with Kevin about like, hey, why you thought maybe this doesn't work for Carolina?
Well, again, I just think that geography is important, and we're pretty well spread out from Boston to Miami and over to Louisville and through Atlanta and South Bend. But I just didn't think adding schools at this point on the West Coast made an awful lot of sense for us. It's fairly easy for football because you don't play very often. It's a little bit easier for basketball because of the nature of the charter, but I thought all of the other sports, it was going to be more challenging. And it's harder to manage an 18-team league than it is a 15-team league. And so for those reasons, I just didn't think it made sense for us. I felt like there was enough ambiguity in what our future looks like relative to compensation and NIL and paper play, all that stuff. I just felt like staying where we were was a better position. And I understand, the argument against that was, oh, these other leagues are expanding, and if you don't expand, then you're going to be left behind. And if teams leave our league and you go below a different number, then there's different decisions need to be made. I understood all that, but again, I think that's kind of the beauty of what sports is about. What college athletics is today is you can have a different opinion, and in a case like this, the majority rules. And now that Cal, Stanford, and SMU are part of the league beginning next year, we're figuring out a way to make that work. So I just had a different point of view on it.
Yeah, you said if teams leave our league, and that's the way that was positioned kind of publicly or through sourced reporting, that this was a move made in anticipation of a Florida State or Clemson or a Carolina leaving the league. Mm-hmm. As someone who's involved in these conversations, you're in the room where it happens. Like, do you get the sense that that's imminent?
Well, I think that what we've heard and what we've seen action on is, there's a financial gap between the television contracts between the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC. So to try to close that gap, we've created this success initiative that allows some of the schools that are going to compete at the highest level, particularly in football, to help close the gap. So I think that was a step toward it. And I think that's very helpful in that scenario. But I think all of us are a bit uneasy because none of us thought 12 months ago we wouldn't have a Pac-12. And so when you see that, then you're like, oh my gosh, if it can happen to them, it can happen to anybody. So I understand the concern about it, but I don't anticipate it. And if you look back the last couple of years, all of those transitions have been tied to the expiration of their media rights. And so to me, those are the tipping point dates that we need to keep in mind, that's when things would change, probably not until those times.
Although complicating factors now would be Charlie Baker, NCAA president, introducing the concept of a FBS plus, I guess, or a super league, that, hey, look, if you can afford to do X, then by all means get together and do your thing. And this is, you have a pretty rich athletic department, so people would look at North Carolina a little bit differently in this scenario. How did you view Charlie Baker's proposal and what that might mean for North Carolina?
Well, I have to admit, the day it came out, for about 2 hours, I lost my mind and thought that I ran all the math on it, and then I started to really think about it. I can't put, I don't pretend to know Charlie Baker really well. I've met him and I understand the role he has and respect the success he's had. And so then I sat there and said, well, is this real, or are we not getting traction with Capitol Hill? Are we not getting traction with the schools? Are we not getting traction with the conferences? And therefore, I'm going to throw a grenade in the middle of the room and walk out and see what happens. And that's really that's what I concluded, that he is really trying to create a conversation about the future of college athletics. And he put a lot of, I would say, meat on the bone, but a lot of concepts out there that really got you to think. And so to me, that's what I think it was, more so than a plan of saying, hey, this is what it's going to look like. because that's what got me out of my mind. I said, gosh, if this is what it's going to look like. And again, half of our student athletes, that's over 400 kids, $30,000 a piece per year into a trust fund. That's $12 million. And that's before we buy NIL for students. No telling what that cost would be. So, after a couple of hours, I said, wait a minute, there's no way this works. So I calmed myself back down.
Well, so you said there's no way. I mean, TV money's, look, I'm coming at this from, you've known me long enough to know that I'm coming at this from just a talking head perspective. You're actually in there, you're looking at numbers every day. And for me, it's a really easy thing to say. I'm like, you got TV money coming in. Sure. You've got a pretty fully funded athletic department that is very, very successful. Sure. Does a defensive coordinator need this amount of money? Does a head coach need that amount of money in the grand scheme of things? And there's just a redistribution of where the money goes. Do you need this big fancy building with sleep pods? You know what I mean? Like that's where I start to do the math in my head, and why I don't feel like it's that much of an ask to give players the 30 grand.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you're right. Do we need any of that? No. But is it part of what we do today? Yes, it is. And we talked about, how much somebody makes. I used to make this joke all the time that, I don't even know, I think it was, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she made $250,000 a year. Judge Judy made $2.5 million a year, but, one had more important job than the other, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, and so, if that's what the market is for that position, that's what it gets paid. So that is what it is. We've tried to cap salaries in the past, and we lost that lawsuit. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe we've lost every lawsuit we've ever had. I don't really know.
There's a bad track record when it comes to these lawsuits, Bubba.
and so I think what we have to do is
with their own rules.
What's that?
Says the guy who beat the NCAA with their own rules.
And so I think that we do have to reframe college athletics. I do think the courts are telling us going forward, there's going to be some type of revenue share. There's going to be some type of collective bargaining. And whether that comes from the courts or through Congress, or we negotiate it ourselves, that's on our way. And to your point, if I sit here and just said, okay, that's $12 million, I got $120 million budget, you're going to say, well, that's only 10% of your budget. Certainly you could figure out a way to make that happen. Mm-hmm. That's true. But we also have, 800 student athletes. And that proposal said, okay, I want to treat half of the athletes differently than the other half, mm-hmm. which is not something we've ever done before. And do I really want to do that? I mean, we've got 4 kids. I don't really want to treat 2 of them differently than the other 2. Although there's sometimes I think I would, but that's beside the point. And so it would make it different. What impact would that have on Olympic sports? And not just the North Carolina Olympic sports, but the U.S. Olympic sports. And I think all of that has to be factored in, because I've said that before with you guys. I think we play a role in the development of youth sports and the production of Olympic athletes as well.
Mm-hmm. You had Bubba Cunningham, North Carolina AD, kind enough to join us here on the OG on the Easter Automotive Group Hotline. Appreciate you, Lawrence, and Merry Christmas to you. Great. Hope to see you soon. You had one of the great stories of the fall calendar with Aaron Matson and field hockey, and I had read Andrew Carter's great profile, and I'm just kind of curious, when you saw her asking Mac Brown for advice and asking other coaches for advice, like, did you really think that she was going to win this thing in her first year?
No, I really didn't. Yeah. And I told her, the day I hired her, I said, look, I don't know how good we're going to be this year. I don't know how good a coach you're going to be, but we're not going to be as good this year as we were last year because you're not playing. And I had no idea that we could win without her. And I do think the thing that was undervalued was the maturity level of the players that bought into her and her leadership. Mm-hmm. And I think it was phenomenal. So I was really happy.
Roommate to
now I'm your coach.
Now I got to listen to you. Yeah.
And quite frankly, you mentioned the roommate. Her roommate, Romeo Ricardo, actually, I think was kind of the glue that kept the team together. It was the link between the head coach and the players that were previously teammates. And I give her a ton of credit.
All right. So I want to go to the night of the college football playoff selection show. By the way, did you text?
Hey, by the way, I'm the AD at North Carolina, not North Carolina State.
No, I know, but you and Boo were boys, and I was just wondering, like, did you text him beforehand, like, "Hey, man, good luck today, because I know that's going to be stressful." But I am curious. When the Final Four teams were produced, what did your phone look like after that?
What did my phone look like?
Was like the super secret AD text thread just blowing up after that? Like, oh
Panic.
my goodness, what is
The ACC is dead.
The ACC is dead. We got to make a statement. What was the behind the scenes kind of reaction that was taking place within ACC circles?
No, I don't have much for you on this one. I did text with Boo a number of times before the selection, after the selection, because he is a good friend, and those are tough situations to be in. But no, there wasn't a group text. We ADs or the league. We didn't have any of that.
The Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, we didn't even do that. It just wasn't. It was uneventful. I'm sorry to disappoint you on that one.
No,
That's okay. I just wanted to ask.
Just curious.
Because everybody was like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" I was mad about it. I got to imagine that other people in the ACC were mad about it because it looks bad on the league.
Yeah, I mean, still the whole debate. Most deserving, best teams. I mean that. That just goes on and on. And again, a lot of times everybody used to think that was the best thing about college sports is because it created dialogue and discussion about it, keeping the emphasis high because of those kinds of things.
So let's talk a little bit about football in your football program, because when our last conversation with you was about, okay, basketball, you missed the tournament, you have a reset, you go to Hubert Davis and say, "Hey man, how do I help you? How do I make this thing right?" So what kind of conversations do you have with Mac after now 2 years? Quite frankly, you should have been a whole lot better than you were these past 2 years. And I know that's hard because of your standard at Carolina. As I mentioned, you have a 23-year-old coach winning national titles. You've got, all the success that you guys have had. It does seem elusive in that one sport.
Yeah, it has. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for everybody. It's frustrating for Mac, for the coaches, for the players, especially when we've done it 2 years in a row where we think we're going to be really good. We win a bunch of games early and then we can't finish. And, how do we resolve that? Again, I think Mac has talked about it a lot. I think we all do. I mean, if we had the answer, we would do it. I don't know. Is it like playing in a golf tournament? You got to get there a couple of times before you break through. And maybe that's where we are. I don't know, but it's hard to do that when your team turns over the way it does as well. We're losing a lot of good players. I mean, obviously we thought with Drake this year, we'd be fantastic all the way through, and we struggled late. So yeah, I'm talking to Mac about that. What are we going to do differently next year? What did we do that we thought was going to work that didn't work? I mean, there's just not a simple answer to it.
Bubba Cunningham, Athletics Director, North Carolina. We appreciate the time as always. You don't have anything else, do you? We're doing this live today, so
it's live.
It's live. I can't edit out anything at this point.
Well, next time I get on, I really want to get a fancier background like you guys have.
You can come through studio if you want. You want to come down to Raleigh?
Come down to Raleigh.
We got a chair for you. Lunch on us.
I appreciate that. I'm going to head down to Charlotte today. I'm going down to Charlotte. We've got the women's game tonight, the men's game tomorrow night.
Nice. Well,
I'm going to be paying Mecklenburg taxes here shortly. We've been down there.
That's the thing about Carolina, man. You always got something to win and celebrate over there.
But here's why I really want you to come through, though. Here's why, you were talking about budgets and various other things. Joe's
Lawrence is like a legit CPA.
I know. That's why I'm asking this, because Giglio's the CFO of this LLC that we got going on here. And we were talking about taxes and various other things the other day. And I'm just like, do I trust this man with my taxes? Do I trust this man? And can you do an audit?
He can. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was majored in accounting. I went into public accounting. I was with that Big 8 firm, and I had that illustrious career down there in Atlanta. It lasted 4 months. And
you're like, I gotta go to Ball State. I gotta get back in this thing, man.
Yeah.
I left before they told me to leave, so that was the first thing I learned.
And then you can help Joe out by emboldening him by saying, "See, OVS doesn't need that new fancy microphone. This microphone's it's not in the budget. We don't need that." See, because you can tell me, do you really need that? Do you need that? So it all works out in the end.
It looks good. I mean, the microphone versus the headphones, there's a big difference there.
Oh yeah, no, there's I'm a dork when it comes to this stuff. Bubba, we appreciate the time. Safe travels.
We just need Ball State Bubba to come in and help out because Carolina, he's got too much over there.
All the money. He's fine. He's fine. Thanks, Bubba.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Bubba Cunningham here on OB. I mean, it's just I'm curious. You know, if you looked at the books, you went, "Ooh, guys, sure you want to keep doing this?"
Careful.
Wait a minute, I already did that one.
That's fine.
No,
We get into the comments.
We will get to some of the comments. We will get to the.
I love the comments.
Hold on a second. I just got to pick the right next one here. What do we want to go with? Let's go. Before we get to the comments, we got to pay some bills. Big
More
thanks
bills?
to Wings Over in Chapel Hill, in Raleigh, in Greenville, parking in Raleigh, which is key. That's super, super clutch. And of course, great online ordering. When you want something picked up at 6:30, it's going to be ready at 6:30. That's how Wings Over works.
I can't oversell this enough either, by the way.
And that is?
The wings are fantastic.
Yes.
Like, I know you might think, I could just get wings from my grocery store and heat them up. No, dude, don't do that to yourself. Go get some real wings, watch some sports, take care of yourself and your family.
Okay. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Check them out online at bugsbite.com. As we've gotten further and further away from the great unbundling, people want to bundle again. This is
Makes sense. Save money.
This is how Netflix is winning. And that's how bugsbite.com can help you win by bundling and saving their services. And you can even get into some extras as well. There's the monthly and the quarterly services and everything else. But you want to take it a step up, like misting systems, those moisture barriers like we've talked about. Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority can handle that for you. You want to get to some Hey Joe questions?
Does that include the comments? Is this like a super secret?
We actually
extra?
don't. We actually do not have that many comments today. People, it's the holiday week, man. It's the week before Christmas.
What's up next? What's up next?
But yeah, let's get to some Hey Joe questions. Big thanks to Anthony over at Oakwood Pizza Box for sponsoring Hey Joe. All right, let's go to one, which is actually a really good one. Bubba coming on for no good reason. Meanwhile, one AD people want to hear from is noticeably absent and silent. Love State, but damn, Randy got this one wrong.
I mean, not no good reason, but Lawrence enjoys our company.
Yeah, I think we have good conversations with Bubba.
Yeah.
We have good conversations.
No, I hear what you're saying though.
It's not like you haven't asked. Yeah. So it's something all you can do is ask.
Everyone's got to run their own race.
Sometimes people just don't want to talk. It's as simple as that. From our friend Ken, cold opens rule. See, we'll keep doing them. Again, the key part to the cold opens is to not fake them. We read an email from Thomas. Thomas was hyped. He went to the Panthers game. He was hyped that we read it. So hell yeah, first OG appearance for me. LK, fire in the background. Nice. I got the Yule log going on the tidbit.
It is impressive.
I do like the Yule log. I might keep it around year long. All year long.
Yeah.
It just adds a level of class.
Can you change it to the Christmas tree that I burned? So it's like
from Chris, is that a Miami flannel, Ovius? No. This
it's
is like
more of a tomato red than it is an orange.
You know what this is actually? It's Scotch tape.
Shirt. What are they called? Shackets.
It's a shacket, but it's like the same pattern as the Scotch tape.
Oh, there's like a brand on there somewhere.
Well, Topo Designs. Big fan of that stuff. Also from David, why can't schools split out Olympic sports from football? Weird conferences already exist for gymnastics and wrestling, hockey too, by the way.
Yeah.
Why not split them all?
I agree. It's probably a Title IX potential barrier, but there's probably ways around it.
Yeah, probably. I guess that's the case. I just don't.
There is no female equivalent of football. So
it's not even about what is a female equivalent, what is not. To me,
I'm just saying in terms of Title IX.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I think for me, what it comes down to is, I gotta pause this because I gotta get some YouTube comments. I think what it comes down to is you have administrators and conferences that don't want to break free from the gravy train. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Logically, what you and I have talked about, what this question is about, why can't you just have a weird conference for X? Well, it's all tied to the television contracts that's then funding everything else. It's one big unit under the umbrella of the conference. It's bundling, essentially. It's essentially what it is. If you broke it out, then you start getting into the worry of, well, how much money is actually going to field hockey? How much money is actually going to the other Olympic sports? I think that's where the worry is when it comes to breaking things off completely.
Sure.
So just something to keep an eye on. From Timmy Ann, great segment with Bubba. Thanks, guys. A great surprise for a random Tuesday afternoon. Yeah, it is. It is what it is. Are either of you going to Tobacco Road tonight? No?
I'm going to the Canes tonight.
You going to the Canes tonight?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going home.
I want to see Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be home. Spaghetti night.
Tuesday?
It's not a Taco Tuesday. I didn't buy any taco stuff. So is what it is. All right, let's go to some of the YouTube comments. We had talked about the Tar Heels in basketball in terms of where they are. I think ultimately the three of us, you, me, and Luke DeCock, all agree that the pieces are there for North Carolina. It's a decent team. They played a good schedule. I think as it gets all kind of going, I mean, you never know. Bracket luck is real, right?
Yeah.
But I think in the comments, it hit on some of the issues that you and I don't tend to focus on because we don't feel it deep when it comes to Carolina basketball. From what is it? Brother Nero. UNC has the same problem as last year. Last year, they had two guards ball hogging instead of just making sure the All-American big man gets his touches. Only difference this year is that RJ is doing that this year. Dude averages 27 of the last 6, and the team is 3-3. His scoring is not contributing to winning. He is truly having a Kevin Martin Jr. season. Wow.
That's a great reference.
The Kevin Martin Jr. season. Goodness gracious.
I love an empty calorie NBA player.
From John Bowser. They looked just like they looked last year when it came time for him to be the coach. He couldn't take them across the threshold. This happened 9 times last year and now 2 times this year. Hubert Davis is just not a last 4 minutes of the game coach yet. He's still learning, and if they give him time, he will get there. From Jay Clemens.
That's wow.
For the bar has moved on Carolina basketball since 2019. What used to be battle for number 1 seeds is now we just want to be off the bubble. Now they're the best version of NC State, which is saying a lot. That's harsh. That's harsh.
I mean,
excuses. Beat by better teams, period. Hardcore Carolina fan is an absolute crybaby, nothing less. If they're not winning everything, then they're crying.
Well, I do think that UConn and Kentucky losses were different in the sense that it was just Davis against UConn, whereas you had Cormac Ryan hitting shots against Kentucky. So that's a little bit different. Obviously, Ingram and now this is where the opponent does matter. Ingram and Baycott were bothered by Kentucky's athleticism.
Yes.
Like that's a thing.
Yes.
When you play teams like that, it's going to happen. I don't agree that they're the same as last year, though.
No,
in terms of how they try to play. I think Ingram is a different piece than even going back to the Manic model. And I think Cormac Ryan is a different player than obviously Caleb Love. I think the issue for Carolina is you got him to be Sidney Lowe and Roy Williams at the same time. You got to make shots because everything looks different when the ball goes to the basket. You know what I mean? And I just, that was the thing from the UConn game that I took away. It's like, oh, UConn's got like 3 or 4 guys that can bang and get you a bucket when you need it. Whereas it does feel like with Carolina, if it's not RJ Davis, where are you going to get that half court bucket from?
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. Thanks for everybody who hung out on our random ass Tuesday live show. However, we are going to soft launch our Thursday lives this week. 2:00. We're going to be at Raleigh Times in downtown Raleigh. Hang out if you'd like.
Come on down.
I think Brownlow's going to be there.
Please.
We've got the mixtape, by the way.
We do have prizes for the mixtape. We're sending this thing out into the wild like today. Or did we send this thing out into the wild? These are just people who come on by the YouTubes.
Yeah, these are people that are on YouTube right now.
Okay. So how is this different than what we did from the parking lot? Like, how did we pull people in? We sent it out?
Yeah, I put the link out.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do on Thursday.
Okay.
I just put the link out there. You want to pop on? Pop on.
Love it.
That's what we're going to do. This was just things were delayed.
Sometimes you got to get reps in, man.
No, I agree.
So you're in radio for 20 years and you can't do a live show. It's cool. I got it. You got to get back on the horse, man.
What do you want me to do? Do you want me to transition to podcast life or get back into my radio mode?
I mean,
I was in big radio mode today.
Yeah, you were. It was good.
I felt good. I felt alive. I felt alive today. Was it the smoothie? Was it the smoothie?
It was the patch.
or was it doing it live? All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow. We're going to have a short show tomorrow. The focus will be on our conversation with Governor Roy Cooper. A lot of fun. Talked to him for about 20 minutes. We got some other things that are going on as well. We will see you Wednesday.